Hello everyone. Welcome to 32nd episode of our morning coffee. We are back from our vacations. I'm glad to see people who joined us today. Some still on vacation. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. As usual, we prepared some interesting news and updates from .NET and the AI world. It's hard to separate now these two topics. So there will be a mix of them. Let's start from the .NET updates, and we are moving closer to the .NET 11 release, which, as usual, should be in November during the .NET Conf. So two preview releases were over the last months, I think, months or months and a half. So the first one is the preview 6, and here is what we got in it. Obviously, we will get that in a full .NET 11 release. So as usual, here we can see a bunch of library updates, runtime updates, SDK, some language updates. From the library updates, I'm not sure what you folks wanted to highlight, but I personally really liked the asynchronous validation with data annotations, because I do remember when this async await feature appeared and you had to implement some pipelines in your MVC or web API application, it was not possible to have asynchronous validation through the attributes. It wasn't convenient at all. So now, after many years of having asynchronous functions in .NET, we finally got the validators that you can where you can have asynchronous calls.
They provide pretty interesting mechanism on how to resolve dependencies, because it's attribute. You cannot just kind of provide something to constructor because your build will fail, because it's attribute. You still have to place it over some piece of code, and they provide context into your meta so you can resolve them on the fly. So it's quite different from usual like services or classes that you might build using dependency injection. Like it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, asynchronous validation is nice to have feature, but it can be easily abused, because like someone will just try to call database, access some external APIs to do some fancy stuff, and you will not know about it because you will see just simple and nicely looking attribute over your property, and oh, it's something simple, something kind of free, but no, it can be not.
What's wrong with the database call in your validation attribute?
Well, maybe it's required for your case, but by placing this into attribute and by just placing your attribute across your code base, it makes it invisible for some other developers who might not be aware of such behavior, and it might be very a big surprise for them later on when they will be debugging some production issue, for example.
Yeah.
So it's
agree.
Nice tool, but dangerous feature.
As all features, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what else we got here? I noticed that. So it's definitely obvious that the biggest feature of .NET 11 will be union types, and Microsoft started adapting all the other types that are working with types to play nicely with unions. So, for example, serialization, because I do remember when tuples were released, then records were released, we had big issues with serialization. Well, not big issue. We had some troubles with integrating these types into the regular flows, regular coding patterns. So it seems like Microsoft is trying to avoid this situation with unions from the day one, right? So once unions are released, you can start using them whenever it is comfortable for you to use. For example, you can accept unions in your APIs, so they will be deserialized, or serialized. You can return unions through the API. That's good.
It's kind of interesting to see what error it will return if you try to pass something incompatible to this parameter. Will it fail with 500 or 400 with some nice and friendly message?
Yeah, we will see. Okay. So another big feature, but it's not a language feature. It is a runtime feature, but it's probably most important
something
one.
That replaces compiler feature.
Yeah, but I think this is the most important feature in .NET 11. It is runtime machine support, and Microsoft is adding more and more optimizations to it. So they realized they could make the asynchronous code faster by. So I do remember you, Volodya, told that initially they didn't plan to replace the base class library with runtime machine code.
Yes, I saw such discussion, some thread on GitHub in the start of the year, but probably they changed their mind when they saw improvements that it gets, and probably they expected more troubles across ecosystem, but hopefully it's smooth switch.
I think they noticed that they could really improve the asynchronous code. I do remember once in one of the conversations like many years ago, I was asked by another more experienced developer about asynchronous code, and his states were like, asynchronous code, if you can avoid it, you should avoid, because it slows down the application. And he was kind of right, because the state machine generated right now, it's a huge overhead for the code execution. You're definitely losing throughput but if throughput is not something that you're taking care of, then. But with this support of the asynchronous features on a runtime level, I think this is not a question anymore. So it should be faster, or at least the same.
Yeah, it's like improvements in some stuff related to when you wrap async with synchronous code. Yeah, when you have like task from result, in real it's synchronous code, but you just wrap it for async support. And yeah, they made some mechanisms in order to avoid some additional creating additional structures. Result, yeah, it will be more faster. The same for continuation task. They just realize that they can improve without execution, without execution of execution context, etc. So like improvements.
I guess there will be some measurable changes even for kind of correct async code when you just access some external dependency, but I think we will see it in early Stefan Taub article, which will go live in a month, hopefully. He should stress it out.
Yeah. Would be interesting to see real measurements. And interesting that we discussed that previously, I think, but the Tech Empower benchmarks, I think they announced the retirement of the project, but I still saw in one of these articles that Microsoft referenced it to Tech Empower benchmarks. So probably they proceed running them internally, I think.
I guess that for the last few years, they already run them on their own infrastructure. So it's just a matter of continuing doing for some internal purpose.
Yeah. Okay. What else interesting do we have? SDK. From the SDK, we can see a lot of improvements in tests in .NET Test tool. And I also wanted to highlight the improvements in the file-based application. So file-based application is a very convenient way of writing small C# applications where you just need one CS file and you can run it. So you can do a kind of C# scripting if you wish to say like that. So now you are able to reference libraries, DLL files. That's nice. Just nice improvement. I really like this file-based apps feature because it's so easy to do like very small things without overhead of the solution, project, Visual Studio. All that you need is a Notepad and .NET command line.
Is it not in
Do you use
preview
it somewhere?
anymore?
Sorry, Alex. I think it was you.
Yeah, it was me. Do you use it somewhere? I mean, this file-based app.
I started experimenting. I think, Artur, we chatted about that. You can do, in this AI era, I experimented a bit with the hooks. So you can do hooks using .NET, or you can implement .NET tools in a file-based way, and then plug into your Copilot or Cloud Code ecosystem or workflow that you have.
Can you use it as a script for custom skills? Because they
reasons why you cannot.
Python and Bash support, but because it can be run in Bash executions line.
Yeah,
can be.
It should be working. The only problem I noticed that if you placed your CS file inside your project folder, but you are trying to create a tool as a global tool, then there will be some context issues. But like for simple tools, for simple hooks, it worked perfectly fine. So for example, you might want to log something. It's easy to do with C#. Maybe not the best tool, but it worked for me.
In the Linkupad, I completely dropped using the native Linkupad file format and using these CS files. And moreover, Linkupad support debugging of these file-based apps.
No, that's cool. I think they are behind the Microsoft that doesn't offer you.
It's a shame of Microsoft. They created these things, but not able to debug it themselves.
Yeah, that's funny. Few minor C# language updates. This is kind of small but nice. So we have this extension members, new way of producing extensions, extension methods, extension properties. Now you can do extension indexers. There could be a reason to do that, not sure, but there could be. This one, I think I need your help, folks, to explain. Unions ship their support types in the box. Is it like just these two types, union attribute and iUnion interface, that was not a part of the framework, but now is a part of the framework?
Yes.
Yeah, in the past you had to do some, extra boilerplate to use them in the project, but now it is a part of framework.
Not really a language feature then, but okay. ASP.NET Core updates, MAUI updates, and anti-framework core updates. That's good. We're still getting some anti-framework core updates. Link translation improvements, migration improvements, Azure Cosmos DB.
Yeah, they just added some improvements in full join, that now full join is translated in full outer join, and the same for, I believe, left join and right join that they introduced recently.
Yeah.
So just improvements with translating. I believe in the 7 preview also a lot of improvements with translating some default methods to SQL.
Yeah. And this is what I mentioned. So they are trying to make unions the thing that you can use in your ASP.NET Core. Let's say, well, most popular application is the web application, ASP.NET Core application. So they advertised unions to be used in your APIs from the day first. That's good. Okay, that was preview 6. Now preview 7. From the libraries, I don't think we will drill down here a lot, but improvements in the archiving APIs and the HTTP clients. So from the runtime, again, runtime async optimization. This is interesting. Core CLR on WebAssembly runs the libraries test suite. So in .NET 11, 11, Microsoft is going to replace, we will have a separate article about that, to replace Mona runtime in MAUI with the core CLR, and also core CLR eventually will replace the Mona runtime in Blazor, but not in 11th version. It will come later, I guess. But .NET, but core CLR in .NET 11 is already compiled to WebAssembly, and it can run WebAssembly code. So there is a very huge preparation for the upcoming replacement. That's my understanding. Okay, SDK again. So a lot of improvements to tests. This is something that brought my attention. So how I translated that? Currently, if you use .NET CLI to build your application, run some tests, and etc., it always MS build under the hood. And what Microsoft noticed, well, probably we also noticed, that it just slow. So MS build is slow, and what they are trying to do, we will get some kind of MS build server that will be run in the background, and instead of each time running the MS build, like running, stopping, it will be always ready to execute some builds, some tests, and it will be a background server. That's how I translated it.
Yes, that's right. But if you click back on preview 7 list of all features for SDK, a lot of the changes for tests, for MS build, for CLI, for native IOT mod for .NET CLI, all of them is not is not exactly about, like, it's also about developer productivity improvements, but the only way I can see them right now is that they are improving them for agents. Fast feedback loop, proper response formatting. The faster agent can rerun, provide some filtering parameters to scope down tests that it want to run, to do all the stuff, the more efficient it is. And a lot of the changes are around that area. They didn't care about them for years, many years, for usual human feedbacks. But agents, it's a different story.
But I think this case only for CLI. Visual Studio and Rider, all those stuff, they're already doing kind of similar thing. So if you'll try to build something through the Visual Studio, you'll notice that it's much quicker than you do the same thing with the .NET build from CLI. And probably they're introducing the same experience into CLI utility. Probably, not sure. But definitely the build from Rider and the Studio is quicker than from console.
It's an interesting observation.
Yeah, there is a feature called build acceleration in Visual Studio, which you can enable with some feature flag, and it's kind of enabled by default starting from particular version if you run through Visual Studio. And probably they, until some point, they didn't want to enable it for CLI because everyone can use CLI. It's kind of for free. It doesn't make you pay them any money, but at this point, what's the point of this restriction? Because, like, yeah, there are Visual Studio, there are Riders, there are others. But a lot of users can just use, or agents can just use through CLI, and it might make sense to move this feature down to CLI instead of being Visual Studio specific. And probably during the move, they can break Rider optimizations along the way, but who cares?
Yeah. So I'm really surprised that in Preview 7 we still got a number of language updates, and one of them, I think it wasn't announced anywhere before, so I was kind of surprised.
But why? Because Preview 7 is the last preview where they can put a lot of features into, because later on it will be release candidate 1, release candidate 2, and it means that after preview 7, it's basically in a feature freeze. So it's last train.
I just surprised that this wasn't announced anywhere, but we got this. So this labeled break and continue. This is what it is named. So imagine you have a number of loops, and you can control the loop through break and continue keywords. But what if you want, let's say, break from the external loop while you have internal loop? So it's not very convenient to do that. Then you need like kind of extra flags to exit from one loop, then exit from another, check the flag, exit from another loop. So what you will be able to do, you will be able to break a specific loop through the break and then put in a label of which exactly loop you would like to break. And then you obviously need to mark a specific loop with the label. Same you can do with continue. Yeah, it's very
like
convenient. But
syntax.
yeah, but this is not a classic C# code at all. Yeah, it's nice.
Yes, we were told that goto is no, and here we have goto.
It's really yeah, it's very similar to goto. So yeah, unions again, more union updates, and this time Microsoft introduces better pattern matching for unions, so you can match the union to itself. So the union itself is a type. It's a really runtime type, my understanding. And you can do the pattern matching to a specific type and to its properties. So very rich pattern matching with unions, and that makes unions very nice player in our code.
What will make it even more nice player in our code is if they can provide at least 2 out of the box union types, result and option.
Yeah.
Without it, it's kind of nice.
Maybe it will.
Without it, we'll have a 100,000 implementation of it.
Yeah. There are a few other updates, not such big ones, but yeah, still a significant portion of language capabilities in the latest. And again, ASP.NET Core, Blazor, Entity Framework, more and more features and improvements in these workflows. Okay. So this is a very small article about the retirement of Mono runtime in MAUI. So it will be still used in Blazor, but as we already know, Core CLR is capable to be run in a WebAssembly environment. So probably in .NET 12, the Blazor will be also powered by Core CLR. So
one big improvements in this, I know the replacement is not a kind of one-shot operations. They're doing this step by step. A pretty big improvement in this kind of step. It is that now we have a debugging working. They fix debugging in Visual Studio and even Visual Studio Code. In the past, it was not possible with Core CLR.
For MAUI, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. This is the article from Andrew Locke about Process API, and this is another feature that like 100% was introduced in order to make C#.NET play nicer with the agents, because the current Process API is ugly. It is synchronous, not convenient at all, and with the updated .NET 11 API, Process API, it is like extremely easy to run the process, read its outputs, get the errors, and etc. It is almost as easy as just running a thread. but you will be able to run with the standard API. You will be able to run the processes. And this is, again, references us to the agent tools that agents need to do some clever jobs. And this API existed for many, many years, and it was ugly always. And now finally we got an improvements here.
It was not just ugly, it was very, very, very error prone. Like something simple and easy, something simple and small is missed. Yeah, the log, exception, whatever. Happy debugging. Happy debugging means more tokens consumed per session.
Yeah. So now it's even like async enumerable exposes through some of the methods. So for example, when you run a process, you want to read and print or pass to another process the outputs of the process that you run. So you can do async enumerable, async for each, await for each, sorry, to do that. So a lot of improvements in process API, and Andrew just goes here in deeper and explores. Okay, AI, our favorite one, right? So Microsoft Agent Framework, this is what we were talking about separately. So very nice presentation by you, Arthur. So its evolution continue, and we got Microsoft Agent Framework harness. So in few words, guys, explain us what is harness, agent harness.
You know, for me, it's like marketing from Microsoft related to this harness, because it's a hype word at the current moment. When we talk about the harness, it's like if you add something like additional prompt on top of LLM, it's harness. Yeah, it's not something else. But and in this article, we have like some clarification, I believe, at the beginning, that we've already had harness for Microsoft Agent Framework. It's agent, because we have, as agent is able to call tools, like it can handle, like can handle some history, etc. But since we have so good word harness, why not to add that now Microsoft Agent supports harness?
But there is no even like a dedicated package that you need to install. It's just a part of Agent Framework. So I think it's just a series of articles describing how to transform just a text producer, the model that just produces the text, to something that could execute tools, call MCPs, use skills, do some real life jobs. And that's it. But it's good. In these articles, they are showing how to do some complicated things. This is the first one.
Yeah, but you know, it can have some confusion from maybe new guys who is trying to investigate in Microsoft Agent Framework, because in this article, I mean previous one, they highlighted that you're able to create research agents that can web search, etc. But to be honest, it depends on the providers that you are going to use with Microsoft Agent Framework. For instance, Azure Foundry, supports web search, etc. But
or Copilot agent support.
Yes, but other providers don't support this. As a result, you're not able to utilize web search, etc. And in this case, just pay attention that you're able to use this harness, but it supports for not for all providers. Just read documentation.
Yeah, and this is another article about the same things, just a bit more complicated. Harness. Yeah, it's all about harness. But what is also interesting that the samples here are for .NET and for Python. So Python is also is fully supported language for Microsoft Agent Framework, and we will see there is one more language just came to the Agent Framework ecosystem. So just more complex scenarios described here, how to add some tools instructions and do something more complicated.
It's, it's like, again, highlighting that we've already showed on our previous session related to creating agents, etc. So, and they just call it harness, because Copilot is a harness, around of LLMs, and they have their own logic, and in order to improve the response from different models based on the benchmark, if I'm not mistaken, GitHub Copilot is better choice, for some coding stuff than Claude Code.
Yeah. So another language is also supported by the Microsoft Agent framework. It's interesting how it's just the different source codes for 3 different languages. So they are probably doing some clever translation from one to another language. Maybe, again, they actually use LLMs to do that. But Go language now has a Microsoft Agent framework. So if you are using Go, you can pay attention to the agent framework as well.
And maybe something interesting for Microsoft Agent framework related to languages. As you mentioned, we have a Python, we have Microsoft Agent framework for Python, and new features are available here, in the Python. And as a result, they introduced a new harness around Cloud Code. If you need Cloud Code with Microsoft Agent framework, use Python. I haven't seen like that they are going to add this capability for .NET, not sure, but for Python, they already added. And if you need like harnesses with Cloud Code, just use it with Python. It's available, but
it's quite interesting choice. Like, why not TypeScript? Why Go? TypeScript is more.
That's a good question. And we know that a lot of tools, Cloud Code itself is written in Python. Oh, sorry,
maybe
Python.
They support
TypeScript, right? Is it TypeScript?
Microsoft supports Go, and they have fork for Go language in their repository, where they try to something improve Go for Microsoft.
It's called Go Sharp.
No, I think they have their own compiler for Go. I think they announced or something like. Yeah, it's strange. Okay, agent skills for .NET again. So it's kind of strange. It's just another conversation about agent harness and how you can add the skills to your Microsoft Agent framework. I thought it was already there from the beginning, but
but it was in preview. Now it was released. Okay. So you can. It's stable version, not something in preview.
Move the orchestration workflows out of the code with agent framework declarative workflows. So this is a way to build agent Microsoft the agent flow on top of Microsoft Agent framework, but not the hard code everything in your C# code, but
code in YAML.
Declare in YAML. So why then not ship just a tool that could run any YAML file where you describe your flow? I don't understand.
Could you scroll up a little bit to show example of this declarative? Declarative with kind if something, then something. Is it declarative? It's kind of imperative.
Yes.
Declarative, I believe like, achieve this. Whatever.
So they just reinvented another imperative declarative language, right?
Yeah, it's some kind of ugly language on top of YAML, on top of translation to logic of agent framework anyway. So
yeah, that's strange. But
it's like if they provided some modules out of this framework and they had some configurations for these modules to achieve something, maybe it would be called declarative. But if you can just move your logic from proper code, not hard code, but proper code based to YAML text file.
Yeah, and also it's, you know, if you have
Good luck to
again,
debug this thing.
if you have a file-based application, then if you run your agent framework workflow through the file-based application, then it's as easy to change the code as just change a declarative YAML file. So you just go and change the C# code, and then again .NET Run, and you got the
Against
results.
your C# code, at least you can try to run debugger against this YAML file. What you can run? You can run only another agent to try to hallucinate some fixes.
Yeah.
But you're able to share your workflows with anybody, and
but you can share the CS file.
Why?
Why not?
Why? Yeah, okay, but you need to compile, etc. But
no,
now,
you
for
can
instance,
just .NET Run file-based app.
Okay, but now you're able to connect any workflows from the YAML, and you don't need to handle like what inside, and this workflow will be available for you without anything else. From my perspective,
who will be running
happy
this?
to understand what it does.
Who will be running these YAML files? It's some
yes, exactly. There should be a runtime for this YAML needed, which my understanding is not shipped. So you need to write a C# code. You need to write a C# code to run this YAML file.
At first they need to advertise text files with YAML, and then they need to sell paid binary with runtime for it to run. Closed source.
Okay, that's funny. The unit test agent. So what is it? So my understanding, this is a set of ready-to-use skills for multiple languages, including C#, that Microsoft was able to achieve a good results for generating unit tests. So most of the projects, unit tests are mandatory, and that's easy to generate the tests by just putting a generic purpose prompt, generate me the test for new functionality, and usually we get some tests, but quite often they are not perfect, or they could be broken from the first attempt, then in another loop to fix the test, and etc. So here we got the set of skills that Microsoft benchmarked and got significantly better results from the perspective of generating new tests for the functionality, which reduces like token consumptions. Well, token consumption is very important.
It's not mentioned here about token consumption. About
it is
error
mentioned.
rates.
Well, I mean, if you are able to generate the tests from the first or second attempt, not from the 7th or 10th attempt, then obviously you consumed less tokens. It's just obvious.
Just assumption.
Well, it is a strong assumption. Yes, it is. It is an assumption.
But to generate better tests, it will consume more. I mean,
yeah. Anyway, they benchmark it, and now advertising this, and we can add, if we use Copilot, we can add the plugin. It's interesting that still confuses me.
Open this .NET /skills on GitHub. It should show this file with skill for tests.
Oh, now I need to find.
It's a lot.
Sorry, where?
.NET.
Yeah, inside of the plugins, .NET test.
.NET test, yes. Skills. We want to take a look at skills.
Oh. Grab score, what it is?
Yeah. Yes, good question.
Let's fall into some of them.
Okay. Code testing agent. Skill MD.
You know, I don't like so generic skills folder and like they said, oh, it works, please use it, but in real it won't work for your project because you have something specific for you, etc.
Yes,
I don't like this kind of stuff, because as you can see, we have a lot of skills for .NET test. And what should I use? Yeah, okay, of course we have like this SDD approach with research, plan, implement, yes, for it, and I believe everybody tries to use the similar for different kind of stuff, but in real it won't work, and
yeah,
I will need to change or update the skills, the agent.
Yeah, and also now I have some doubts about the token consumption, because now I see this flow, and it is probably overcomplicated, and it definitely consumes a lot of tokens. If you need to research, plan tests, then delegate to implementers, builder, tester, fixer, linter. Okay, so that's definitely quite significant token consumption at the end.
Yeah, because they try to create something generic. Because in real, for you can just create a skill for test purpose in your project with I don't know, maybe 50 words, or 500.
And it will work
500.
nicely.
Yeah, it will work. It will work nicely because it can understand how tests organize it in your project and what patterns should we follow.
Yeah. Okay, what else? Announcing second version of the official MCP C# SDK. Yes, so the new specification of the MCP was released only in July 28th, and now just one day after that, Microsoft releases the SDK. That's, well, no, same day, it's 28th. And
it's not an agent magic, it's just that this new version was in preview for long enough.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, I understand. Yeah, that's still very good. So basically, this revision of the MCP specification and the way how it is implemented in C# SDK allows you to do like easier. Well, first of all, it is stateless. That means each request is kind of self-contained, and what it really allows to do, you can scale your MCP servers really easily, because the previous specification, it was stateful and there were some troubles with scaling horizontally. Now you can just do simple round robin load balancing and everything will be working fine. With this,
it's kind of interesting why they decided to build it stateful at first, because by this moment there was like 30 years of
So Volodya, I think it's just so people who invented the first specification, they were not really efficient in technologies, I guess.
The same person who named parameters in messages API for agent providers.
Yes. Also, it supports natively how it's called multi round trip requests. So, for example, there is a tool call, then the tool call needs some input from the user. So you need to go back to the user, ask user for approval or some changes. Then this answer is fetched from user and passed again to the tool. Then tool can proceed with the reaction of the user. So, and you can do these trips from the tool to the user and back and forth. And this is supported quite easy. Well, not quite. It is. You can implement that at least without the significant troubles. So
it's very the stateless approach work, because now the server just return result state result state object where it can save any state for particular request, and the client is not able, like shouldn't, like we don't have any restriction, shouldn't change this object and just return this back to server when the user answers a question. Moreover, because we have this elicitation approach, first of all, you can open like conversation, because for instance, if you need to log in some system, you need to authenticate. I mean, for server, you can generate some proxy with client, MCP client, and just open a new tab where the user just type the user credentials, and this will send back to the server without communication with the MCP client. In this case, the client won't know your credentials, etc.
Yeah. So it seems like this second version is the way how it should be from the first version, right?
Yeah.
Probably, but not sure that fully understand how it is actually working right now with the stateless mode. It should be self-contained. Does it mean that we need to provide the full context of conversation every time?
And this is what Arthur just told. So if, for example, if your tool needs to do a round trip to the user and then get the user response, then tool returns its intermediate state. This intermediate state transferred back to user adds on top, and then it goes again to the MCP, and the MCP need to process the transferred state again.
Is it really more efficient than, stateful stuff? I understand that it can be scaled.
But
at what point in this chain you have to increase your maximum request body size from 16 megabytes to something manageable?
Now all the Microsoft, NVIDIA chip providers, whatever, will start upgrading the networking ecosystem to support longer HTTP request bodies.
2 gigabytes.
Probably it's time to switch from HTTP to something different, gRPC, whatever. TCP, maybe just throw it over.
So it's fun outcome, that this AI drives the upgrades in particular areas, right? It is a driver of technology upgrading.
It's fun that it keeps reinventing the same wheel as was reinvented across industry.
That's a separate topic. Yeah, that's a separate topic, but agree. Azure DevOps remote MCP server is generally available. So in case if you are on Azure DevOps, now you can just use HTTP and open authentication instead of providing personal tokens. You can just use the remote MCP server for Azure DevOps to fetch pull requests, run the pipelines, and etc. Okay, what else? Yeah, agent plugins in VS Code, Copilot CLI, and etc. Here I'm a little bit confused, Artur, because we have previously we announced that there is an APM agent package manager, and seems like the Copilot goes into another direction where they have their own marketplace ecosystem, plugin ecosystem. Why they?
No, not. You know what they're going to achieve, because now for different providers you need to create a plugin in different way. I mean, not in different way, with different folder destination, etc. As a result, if you want to migrate your plugin from Cloud Code, you need to make a lot of adjustment, not a lot of adjustment, but some adjustments in order to support GitHub Copilot. But here they're going to introduce unified plugins schema. So it means that you create only one plugin that will be available for different providers, and you don't need to create a new plugin for each provider. You just create one single plugin where you just add a schema, a new field in your plugin JSON file, and as soon as you install this plugin, for instance, for GitHub Copilot, it will the destination folder will be .github. Yeah, but for instance, if you're going to install the same plugin, it will for Cloud Code, it will the destination folder will be .cloud. And it's what they're going to achieve. They're going to have some unified mechanism for plugin creation, and you don't need to try to create the similar plugins, because it will be the same. The main difference, the folder destination.
And what do they mean by plugin? Is it skills, MCP
Skills,
servers,
MCP
agents,
tools, agents?
Just MD files. As usual, it's just MD files.
Yeah.
Well, potentially they probably could ship some tools.
Like you are able to install this plugin from the market, for instance. As a result, at the end you will see in your coding provider skills, MCP agents will be installed, and you are able to use it. So, like this.
Okay, here is one more AI article from one famous author, and very very strong expert in the AI area, Arthur. Like it's your.
Yes.
Just in a few words, what is it about?
Just I would like to highlight that AI coding is not magic, and your repository should be able to be prepared, for coding stuff with AI, because without it, without some skills, all additional context for coding assistant, you will receive all inappropriate results. You will feel dissatisfaction with coding stuff. Like some examples related to Aspire, its new framework. Every time we see some breaking changes, we see some new APIs, and you need to highlight agent how to work with it, because for instance, Aspire expose MCP server, for different kind of versions, and your agent is able to identify what API should be used, because based on the knowledge of LLM, unfortunately, it's out of date, and it cannot use new technologies in appropriate way.
Yeah. So basically, this article describes how to prepare your repository for the AI workloads. Okay, yes. That's very, very useful. Thank you, Arthur. Big thanks for this. Okay, few more, quite minor. So this is about the Visual Studio update. So seems like the Visual Studio evolves and its AI integration is getting better. So what they did in the latest release, in the latest update, so they added. So we had agent, now we have agent preview. That's confusing. But under the hood, in this agent preview, when you choose the agent preview, under the hood there will be a Copilot SDK and command line interface used. That means it is exactly the same experience that you have in GitHub command line interface, but through the Visual Studio. And why you might need this? So the problem with Visual Studio, it was always the problem that it was behind everyone. So its AI integrations were developed very slowly, and a lot of things that worked in Visual Studio Code didn't work in Visual Studio. Now, by bringing this integration with Copilot CLI through the Copilot SDK, seems like Visual Studio should be back on track, and we will get the all the functionality that Copilot offers in Visual Studio. That's how I understood that.
Yes, it because previously it was a pain, for Visual Studio team for adding sub-agents, skills, and it was funny, like, oh, we introduce agents, but it was 1 year ago for
in all other EDs and frameworks and everywhere.
And it's so a good choice.
My understanding that the problem is that how Microsoft started doing that, there was its own harness in Visual Studio, AI harness, own harness in Visual Studio Code. Then they shipped command line interface, GitHub Copilot CLI, with its own harness. And now this command line interface is the most, it's very mature. So instead of having their own integrations, own harnesses in Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, they should start utilizing under the hood the Copilot command line harness. This is the switch is happening right now. Okay, the last one, it is about WSL containers. So it was announced in Microsoft Build conference, but was not available for everyone. So now it is possible to install WSL preview, pre-release. And if you do that, then you will get WSLC.exe command line tool. And this is exactly the tool that allows you to run the containers right from Windows without installing Docker, Podman, or what is your favorite one. So it has very similar to Docker Podman interface, so it will be really easy to start using it. But for now, you still need to do this to run this you still need to install the preview of WSL. Okay. Anything that we would like to add at the end? Volodya, Artur?
My favorite feature from recent Visual Studio updates is that they added code lengths, like references over fields.
Okay. That's good.
Over field?
Yeah.
I thought it was in the past.
I only noticed now.
Okay.
Probably they released previously in a preview
Not a
version of
properties,
Visual
over
Studio.
field, right?
Yeah, over field.
Mm-hmm.
Quality of life improvements, 2026.
Cool.
I also
Thanks.
noticed that Visual Studio Code has a UI update. They call it modern look and feel, and now it looks like a modern islands UI. That every part of Visual Studio Code is kind of separated with round corners or so. Looks not so good, actually.
Okay. So let's wrap up then. Thanks everyone who joined us today. So wish you have a great rest of your day and a lovely weekend. Bye everyone.
Yeah, see you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.